Happy Friday, everybody, and welcome to the Fanatic Forum. I'm your Fanatic and host, George Bueller. We got a fun one for you today. And of course, me and my junior Fanatic have been laughing here. Let's get him in here. My brother from another mother, the junior Fanatic, the former child star himself,
Yeah.
Seth Manhammer.
Yeah, I was the third Eddie Munster in the fifth reboot. Yeah.
Is that kind of like you're like for the Three Stooges fans, you were the Joe Besser,
Yeah. Man, that's a super ass deep cut.
Thank you. Well, strangely enough, Corny's been talking a lot about the Three Stooges lately, and so yeah, they always they talk about the Stooges, and then they talk about Shemp, and then we talk about Curly Joe. It's like, yeah, okay, so Curly Joe Besser, here's this, so it's like everybody likes Shemp pretty much, but everybody hates Curly Joe. So look it up, kids.
Yeah. Oh man, no, my dad, like, few things entertained him like the Three Stooges. And yeah, it was they were the funniest thing on and he was almost an encyclopedia with knowledge of that. Hated everything else with a passion, with like pop culture wise, couldn't stand it. But Three Stooges, he was a savant with.
Nice. Oh, that's awesome. Well, this is our first show of the new year, so I guess Happy New Year to everybody. So
yes, Happy New Year, y'all. Hope y'all had a good one. I had a great one over here at Manhammer Manor. I fell asleep by 10:30 and I was done. What's up, V? How you doing, brother?
Yay! That's a W there. So this V. There we go. This is a V. Happy New Year to you, good sir. Yes, glad to be back. Glad to have you on the show. Yeah, poor V texted me. He's like, last week's like, no podcast? Like, yeah, we're taking Christmas week off, man. Sorry, I mentioned that on the last show there. So, yeah. And a happy New Year to you, Bradley. Good to see you,
What's
sir.
Up, Bradley? Happy New Year.
Yeah. So basically, Michelle and I had the perfect New Year's that we both wanted. The winery that's like literally like 2 blocks that way. Literally, I'm not being facetious. It's very close by. Was having a party and a DJ, so she and a couple of friends went there and enjoyed the night. They came home somewhere around 2 a.m. I sat here after a long day at work and selling comics to the masses, and had a couple of beers. I finished watching The Ninth Configuration, the William Peter Blatty film, which was supposedly his second chapter in his Faith trilogy, which included also The Exorcist 1 and Exorcist 3. Great cast, good performances, but
so kind of like The Exorcist 3.
Listen, I like Exorcist 3. I think Exorcist 3 is a very good film for someone who's never directed a horror film before.
There's a certain parts of it for me.
The pacing is very slow. I will give you that. The pacing is slow. But for some reason, I kind of got into pacing on that one. But anyway, the other film I watched, you may have seen this one before, the Italian film, The Visitor. Yeah, that's the one that's got John Huston and Henry Ford and Lance Henriksen and Franco Nero playing Jesus Christ. So The Visitor originally was released in 1978.
Bart told me about this movie once upon a time. Okay, continue. I've not seen it. No, okay.
All these are free on Tubi as we speak. So The Visitor was released an Italian film. It did come overseas, and it did keep its title, but it got horribly edited coming here in the States. So later, many years later, Alamo Drafthouse did a remastering of the film of the original Italian cut, so it's uncut and as is. This movie visually is very interesting. Story-wise, it's WTF City. It simultaneously rips off The Exorcist, The Omen, Carrie, Star Wars, a little bit of Highlander, and basically it's kind of like if you asked Alejandro Jodorowsky to direct The Exorcist, but gave him like really strong acid right before.
Wow. And you said this was an Italian flick, right?
Yeah, it's all in English though. But it's like
Okay, okay, yeah. No, it's like okay, that excites me because I love my weirdo Italian movies. Like I'm a big Fulci fan. I'm a big Argento guy. Like give them to me weird. Give them to me Suspiria. Like
dude, this is
on.
right up your alley. You need to see it like tonight. Like a very very young Lance Henriksen that's in the movie. So yeah, there's a ton of people in this movie. Some were at the beginning of their careers, and definitely most of the cast were at the end of their careers. But yeah, I love it. Franco Nero's in the movie, and literally he's credited as Jesus Christ, but he's blonde haired, blue eyed.
Wow.
Like like Django, like Franco Nero is like a classic Italian actor, but you decided to tint his hair and his eyes, and he's
Yeah.
Jesus. And he's
Man, it's Italian movies, man. Hey, they had Terminator 2 6 months after the first Terminator released, you know?
Yes, they sure did. So,
Yeah.
but let's see here. One really, really positive movie review I have to give. If you guys haven't got out to theaters to see Nosferatu, please do so.
Yeah, I'm really excited to see this movie. I keep hearing the Blu-ray is going to be an extended cut too.
Yes, I saw that myself. Yeah, I'm really excited about that too. But this is a great, creepy gothic horror. Probably a little more blood than your usual gothic horror film, but not like super gory. Still within the purview of a gothic horror vampire film. The performances by Lily Rose Depp and Bill Skarsgård, if these two don't get nominations, I will be very upset because they are well deserved. Lily Rose Depp's performance is outstanding. Skarsgård, you don't even know it's him because like there was a poster, a fake poster that came out that had kind of a classic Nosferatu look, like your silent era or even your Klaus Kinski Nosferatu, but it had kind of Skarsgård's face a little to it, right? That's completely inaccurate for how he looks. Robert Eggers, who of course we know him from The Lighthouse, from The Witch, he loves accuracy. So if someone who was, say, Romanian, grew up in the Carpathians, was very, very much of that ilk, if he was a gentleman, he would have the biggest mustache he possibly could. Vlad Tepes had that giant ass mustache, and guess what? So does Count Orlok. So he's got the giant Carpathian mustache. He also speaks Romanian and English in the film. His voice sounds like it has an effect to it. It may, I don't know, but it's piercing, especially in the theater. Like it cuts through you. But the interesting thing is that also there's a lot of like guttural growling. The voice itself is deep and booming. Skarsgård worked with a couple of different vocal coaches, including a Tibetan throat singer.
Oh, wow.
The performance, it says something that the performance he gives in this film is more transformative than what he did as Pennywise. And he completely transformed himself as Pennywise.
Oh, yeah, hell yeah. Yeah, wow.
Yeah. So I'm telling you, it's go see this, folks.
Man, that makes me hyped. Now, yeah, oh man.
And Bradley brings up a wonderful point here. If you guys don't know this, Willem Dafoe, who also kills it in Nosferatu, he's outstanding as well. But he was in The Shadow of the Vampire, which is a very they take a lot of liberties with it. There's some accuracies and there's a lot of stuff they kind of dramatize to make it a little more of a horror film. But it's basically about the original making of Nosferatu and
in a tongue-in-cheek kind of way.
Very much so, yeah. But then, but Willem Dafoe plays Count Orlok, or what was Max Schreck was the actor's name who played Orlok in the original. And then, of course, who was it? John Malkovich is the director. So,
and now what's interesting about this movie too is A Shadow of the Vampire specifically, and I'm double checking before I lie to everybody. But the DVD, I believe, was never officially released. It was only released on VHS.
For which movie?
The Shadow of the Vampire.
Oh, really?
And because now you can get bootlegs of it, of course. But yeah, as far as I know, there is no official Shadow of the Vampire Region 1 release.
No, that stinks because that's such a
Yeah.
good movie.
Yeah, I'm
Like I said,
double checking. Yeah.
they take a lot of liberties with the history, but it's a lot. It's a great
Oh, yeah,
vampire
it's a
movie.
fantastic film. And,
Yeah,
so I think you can still find it digitally. But,
I believe you can. Yeah, maybe
yeah.
streaming or you get on YouTube or something like that. But yeah, getting a physical copy. Yep.
Yeah.
We got a comment from our buddy Bill here. Friend
What's
Seth,
up?
is this man a
Is this man a
Nazi?
Nazi? Oh, man. Creature,
I
have you
love
watched
GI
the
robots.
fourth episode yet?
No, I'm only on episode 3. So
Okay, yeah.
yeah, I'm a couple behind on Creature Commandos. I haven't even started the new season of What If, but yeah, I'm behind on Creature Commandos right now.
Okay, yeah. I'm gonna be totally honest with Creature Commandos. Like I was kind of after the Superman thing that I'm still kind of not 100% sold on. I was
Sure.
kind of pouty about Creature Commandos, and I'm like, I don't want to watch no stupid James Gunn Creature Commando. It's gonna be stupid. Gonna be dumb. It's gonna be dumb. And then Bill's like, you gotta watch Creature Commandos. You have to watch it. And I'm like, I don't want to watch it. It's dumb. It's dumb. And then I'm like, I'm gonna watch one episode and then I'm gonna be like, Bill, this is stupid. And then one episode turned
Bill's
into
laughing at
yeah,
you.
yeah, I know.
Bill's laughing at you.
Yeah, oh he totally is. He totally is. And one episode turned into I watched all of them before Dynamite came on Wednesday. And yeah, so yeah. Bill, you were indeed correct, sir. You were
Yes, and
indeed correct. Yeah.
I will go on record now that Bill's in the room to say that Bill was right.
Yes, he
Yeah,
was.
yeah, Creature Commandos is a
I was
lot of
being a
fun.
stubborn butthead. I
Well,
was.
and the fun thing
Because of my Superman bias, I'll admit.
true. But I mean, it was like I say, same universe, different group of people. So there you go. So and I kind of like we start out with because basically this chapter of James Gunn's new DC universe is called Gods and Monsters. So we're literally starting with the monsters first, and the gods show up in July. So there you go.
Oh, okay.
Since Bill is in the room, I will definitely say that Bill was right about this. But I started watching it pretty early on, but I've been busy over the last couple of weeks, so I haven't got around to episode 4 and 5 just yet. But
I guess that means I gotta watch the stupid Peacemaker show too.
Dude, Peacemaker is a lot of fun. And they give Vigilante more personality than he's ever had in the comics. So they take a few liberties with him, but yeah, it's a lot of fun. Cena's performance is actually really good. There's one scene towards the end of the series that is a really kind of poignant episode. You're like, wow, okay. So Cena ever wants to like really pull out some real acting chops, get real serious. Like he might be able to do that. So
yeah, okay.
and then shoot, what's his the T-1000 from Terminator 2?
Robert Patrick, yeah.
Yes, Robert Patrick plays his dad in the series, and he's the main bad guy.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow. Yeah.
And the funny thing is, Gunn has already said there's literally one scene in the first season of Peacemaker that is no longer canon anymore, and you'll know it when you see it. It's literally in the final episode.
Okay.
Yeah, because it basically involves some people who no longer have jobs, or their job is now different.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, when I get around to watching this damn show too, and then end up liking it, stupid James Gunn.
Well, see, here's the thing: it's like Gunn's kind of good at picking his music, or kind of picking, and so he must love Gogol Bordello because, like the first 2 episodes of Creature Commandos, if you love Gogol Bordello, you're gonna like this show.
Yeah.
But for Peacemaker, on the other hand, what really sold it to me is that Peacemaker and I share one thing in common: we're metalheads, hair metalheads. And Peacemaker loves himself some 80s hair metal because that's the stuff he grew up on, or current bands, especially bands overseas that sound similar to 80s hair metal bands. So like Steel Panther does make some appearances for some of their music as well.
Right.
But the main theme is one of Wigwam's songs, which is kind of an older one of theirs, right? And they're a Norwegian band, right? So the fun thing about Wigwam and this song is like Wigwam's been around for a while. They're very much kind of a throwback to 80s hair metal, but they're not like Steel Panther. They're actually like a serious band, right?
Yeah.
But anywho, so one of their songs, Do You Really Want to Taste It, is used as the theme for Peacemaker and is used the open. And you definitely got to watch the open in its entirety, at least the first time through. And sometimes you may be addicted to watch it for every episode, but you may be compelled to skip it. Doesn't matter. But at least watch the opening of the show at least once in its entirety. It is beautiful. Anyway,
Okay.
So James Gunn used the Wigwam song, right? Well, Wigwam's management and their label literally dropped them the day before the first episode of Peacemaker aired. The first episode airs, it gets respond, but also the opening of the show sticks with people, and we love the song. So now, day 2, Wigwam gets new management, new label, gets to release their new album that they already had in the works before their last label dropped them, and they have a whole new era of popularity and a bona fide hit that is now overseas because of Peacemaker.
Wow.
Yeah. And Bill says, it's fun. Don't try to take it seriously. I agree.
Yeah. I mean, I kind of got that vibe, you know.
And never skipped it once. Here. Yeah, never skipped it once. Amazing opening. Yes. And like I said, you will see. Anywho, let's get to some comic reviews because I got some reviews. Seth's got some reviews. And then, of course, we have got our topic du jour, a deep dive into the funny pages because we're talking newspaper comics today.
Yay.
So, and see, we're only 17 minutes into it. We haven't got to our main topic yet. So there we go.
Yeah.
All right. So I've only got a couple of comic reviews here, so we'll go through them quickly here. Let me get up to the solo layout here. All right. So a couple of Marvel reviews, one from this week, one from last week here. But since we're getting a new Captain America movie featuring Sam Wilson as our Captain America, why not have a new Captain America book start up here? So this is,
right.
Of course, for our legacy numbering, this is technically issue 767 of Captain America. But this is a new story starring Sam, and of course, Red Hulk's involved. But also Elijah and his nephew, of course, the Captain America of the Korean War, and then his nephew, who we've met previously, who eventually becomes Patriot, one of the Young Avengers. So all these people are involved here, but yeah, we're literally prepping for the movie here. So like, let's get some characters involved who are in this movie. It's completely not tied into the movie. It just so happens to have all the characters that happen to be involved in it. Yeah. One comic, and this one was hella fun that came out last week here. So in the current run of the Incredible Hulk, we have been introduced to a Ghost Rider that dates back to 1944 that literally served during World War II in the U.S. Army. So we had a couple of issues with him, had a lot of fun, where fans were like, we want more of this guy. So we give you Hell Hunters #1 here. So
damn.
we get the origin of our 1944 Ghost Rider. We also get to see Nick Fury, and there's Peggy Carter. And for a real deep dive, I can't remember what series introduced this character, but basically this is World War II soldier who's basically a little bit Captain America and a little bit Doctor Strange. Like he is a super soldier that's not Captain America, but he also uses magic, and his rifle is a breathing gun, as they say. So like the gun itself is alive. So it's perfect for destroying like undead things, demons, whatever else, because it's considered a living organism. So
see, I would have thought he was Dum Dum Dugan at first, just from the mustache, but
yeah,
no, I can see the differences now. He's got like the eye on his helmet, and the gun is different.
So basically he's a magic using U.S. soldier here. And then a Winter Soldier and Wolverine haven't shown up just yet, but I'm sure they're going to be coming in very shortly here. But, World War II action with a little bit of supernatural and superhero flair. Yes, I'm in. Thank you very much. Also, written by Philip Kennedy Johnson, who's doing the Hulk right now. So, yes, please.
Yeah.
One DC book selection here from last week. This is the third issue of DC Horror Presents. So basically, DC decided they wanted to do their own horror anthology book here. So we have two featured stories in here. And what's really cool is that we get basically well-known artists who are also writers as well. So they saved a lot of money on this book because the first story is Francesco Francavilla, and it is a Batman story, but it's basically dealing with essentially a kind of like a plant-like organism that has like some eldritch roots, no pun intended, that essentially wants to take over everything in Gotham. And since it's a horror book, well, it's a bad ending.
Right, yeah.
But but with being Francesco Francavilla art, it's really cool. I loved it. The second story, I'm trying to think who is the. It is a Wonder Woman. Yes, I think it's a Wonder Woman story, but it is written by Patrick Horvath, who did last year's IDW hit "Beneath the Trees Where Nobody Sees," which essentially. That book, if you're not familiar with it, is a mashup of Richard Scarry's world, like the human-esque animals running around doing normal human things and working jobs and driving cars and stuff like that. If you mix that with Dexter, because you have this perfect picturesque storybook world of people living their lives in normal, wonderful ways, and then there's also a serial killer that's on the loose in that town, and it just happens to be one of the townspeople. So that's Patrick Horvath. So he could do like some very nice cutesy artwork and then just bring in the horror heat when he wants to. And yeah, so if you have not read Beneath the Trees Where Nobody Sees, IDW put it out. Highly recommend checking it
out. Okay.
And our last book here, this one's not superhero-y at all here. This is actually a really cool premise, but from Image Comics, first issue, this came out last week. This is Dust to Dust, written by J.P. Jones, art by Phil Brom. This is a murder mystery taking place during the Great Depression in the literally the Dust Bowl of Oklahoma. You have a serial killer on the loose that uses dust devils as his cover to take out farmers, their families, whatever else. So on the case, you have the local town sheriff, who's kind of like a John Wayne-ish kind of guy, and a plucky female photographer who, kind of oversteps her bounds a little bit and seems to be kind of Annie, get your gun kind of girl here. So that's the pair who the first issue is kind of a lot of setup. There are signs that something is afoot, but we don't quite get to see our killer just yet in the first issue, but we get a lot of setup. But the art has a very much of a sepia tone to it, but it's very much a real world kind of murder mystery kind of flick. Yeah, but it's prime for a movie. Let's put it that way. But yeah,
right.
Yeah, the art in it is outstanding, and just yeah. So highly recommend checking Dust to Dust out here. Here we go. Here. Visa stack of comics time.
Hey, but you only held up one at a time.
Yes, I've learned my lesson. and Bradley says, do we get to see this Ghost Rider sends Nazis to hell? Yes, we do get to see some this Ghost Rider dropping some Nazis. Yes, sir. That is 100%. All right,
G.I.
so
Robot.
See, everybody loves G.I. Robot, man. Sean Gunn has found himself a winner character there, man. All right, so I understand you have a review yourself.
Yeah, so I have a more of a book report than a review, but So hold up, I have a screen share if you don't mind. Oops, no, Moxley, I cannot play right now, buddy. I am sorry. Bless his heart. But okay, yeah. So this thing now, this book you can get them on Kindle Unlimited or through Audible, and apparently the audiobook presentation is fantastic. But imagine like The Running Man meets Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
Okay.
And yeah, so it's like this dude named Carl, his ex-girlfriend's prized Persian show cat jumps out the window at 2 a.m. So Carl runs outside in his heart boxers and leather jacket and tries to get the cat out of the tree. Well, then the aliens just collapse the entire planet, like while he's happening. Like, yeah. And so like this one lady that was hanging out of a window, she gets decapitated. This is all in like the first 20 pages of the first book, right?
Wow.
Then yeah, there's this big like booming god voice that says like go down these stairs. And so it's this twisted like alien game thing to where
Hmm.
like like it's the genre is called lit RPG. And like as it goes or as the story progresses, like Carl has an inventory. Like it's nothing you have to keep track of or anything in the book unless you really want to. It's just there.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, there's numbers, there's statistics, but there's also the narrative about it too, and it's hilarious. Yeah, the show cat also gains sentience, right? So
Oh
she,
no.
yeah, you'd love these, especially as a cat dad yourself. So it's like Carl, and the cat's name is Princess Donut. Uh, yeah. But anyway, so yeah, this is a 7-book series at this point, so I'm not spoiling anything by saying Carl at least survives that long. But
Sure. Yeah.
this particular one is the third one, and
Okay.
yeah, so it was a fun one, but it was the level that he was on in this alien game was like an interconnected train system that was kind of confusing to keep up with at times. But a lot of the comedy was there, and it was he finds this thing called the Dungeon Anarchist Cookbook, which is like part of it's a secret thing in the program of the AI that's weird. The AI also has a foot fetish. That's why Carl has to be barefoot for so long too. Yeah, it's weird as shit, but it knows it's weird as shit, if that makes sense.
Oh well,
Uh
good. Yeah. I
yeah,
like a good self awareness. A good level of that. Yeah.
yeah. Please, like I cannot recommend this series to you enough. Like
Nice.
you would love it. Like, and the first book so far has been the weakest book. But so
Okay.
and that's still not that's still saying that the first book was pretty good,
Yeah.
but yeah, it's been a great series so far, like laugh out loud series kind of stuff. But
Oh, nice.
yeah,
Nice.
I definitely suggest it, and I keep wanting to do the audiobook versions through Audible, but that damn Brandon Sanderson and his 64-hour audiobooks are getting my Audible credits at the moment. After well, no, Audible had this great deal that was like you for 99 cents at the end of the year you got like 3 months for 99 cents a month. And so I was like, okay, so that's fine, a buck an audiobook, I'll do that. So I have one credit now, but it's like I don't want to start on like book 4
I
with
feel
an
that. Yeah.
audiobook.
Yeah. So
But
once again, so that was Arthur was Matt Dinneman,
Matt
and the
Dinneman's the Dungeon Anarchist Cookbook, the third book in the Dungeon Crawler Carl series.
I like Dungeon Crawler Carl. I like that.
Yeah. Yeah,
I like that.
they're in hardcover now too, and you can find them. But like the hardcover covers just aren't as good as those covers, right? Like the cheap
Mhm.
kind of they're almost trashy pulp style. Like
Nice.
I dig them. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
You and I both enjoy a nice pulp book, from time to time too. So yeah, you
Oh yeah.
landed on a nice stack of some old Conans. You're like, here, you can have a couple of these. Like, hell yeah, thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah, and it's something that it's like I don't know if I'd ever actually sit down to read them, but just to have them as like the art pieces,
I
in
know,
there,
right? Yeah,
and yeah,
yeah. And of
yeah.
course, you gotta love half price books. Now they have those little slip covers for the books, so they're encased in plastic. Like,
Right, yeah, they're
oh
the perfect little like collectible things to display. Yeah, because I even thought about like putting them on little shelves and everything. I
I know, right?
love that. I know people like to knock half price books for some of the prices of their books, but it's like sometimes they can be expensive on things, but other things like those Conan paperbacks, like but I paid between $2 and $3 a pop for them.
Right? Yeah.
It's like I can't beat that. And there was like yeah, I just grabbed every single one of them I saw. And I just love those kind of old timey like vintage paperbacks like that with like the weird covers and anthology collections that are printed so
Mhm.
tiny you can barely read them, and
I know.
those I love looking at those shelves and half price books.
Well, hey, Tommy and I were literally just having our conversation today. He was talking like, "Oh yeah, like I was mentioning something about half price books." He's like, "Oh man, I remember like a while back, I went back, went there and blah blah blah." And, he basically found like a bunch of Louis L'Amour books and like their clearance section, and they were like old copies of Louis L'Amour books. And so he's
Yeah.
like, and so he ended up taking all of them and got like I can't remember how many he said he had, but it was a lot. But it was like 50 cents a piece. So it's like,
Oh yeah. Oh man.
so like,
Yeah.
yeah, it's like it just you gotta like some of those old pulpy ones, like that paperback book that can literally fit in your back jean pocket. It's like
Dude,
that's
those are the best, man. It's like, and those things have some of those have survived since the 70s now. That's what I love. Like, that's the walls you need to go around on half price books, is like the back walls where they got those
uh,
paperbacks. And it's like, yeah, it's like, I mean, it's nothing really going to be new or major or anything, but you're still finding some classics,
yep.
some super good stuff for dirt ass cheap.
I mean, there's always
Yeah.
deals there. Yeah. Oh,
Oh yeah.
V, gotta throw some shade. Would you look at that? No Batman. There was a Batman
Oh man.
story. There was a Batman story in the DC horror one, though. But yes, no
Hold on,
Batman
hold on.
books.
Time out. V, you speak too soon, sir. I will just
Oh,
leave
yeah.
it at that.
Yes, yeah, I was gonna say we got a little something for you. But anyway, so getting into first before we get to our topic du jour, I do have to make a little plug because, of course, coming up the weekend of the January 24th through the 26th is, of course, the Multiverse fundraiser, which we put on here with the Phoenix Sisters Network and the Serial Box Network. So we're looking very forward to our episode on Friday night at your usual time, but we have very special guests for this one here. We have one of the finest wrestling historians in the Southern Indiana area, John Cosper, the gentleman you see pictured on the left there, and one of the voices of basically the last days of Memphis wrestling and the voice of Ohio Valley wrestling, Dean Hill, is going to be on the show for the Multiverse fundraiser. We're going to talk some old school wrestling. I can't wait.
Yeah, that's going to be a lot of fun, I think, because yeah, both of we've met both of them a couple of times already. I don't know if they'd remember me. I'm going to be interested to see that if John Cosper's. I know Dean Hill won't, but I'm going to remember.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see if John does. But
Yeah,
yeah,
because John and I didn't go to high school together, but he went to New Albany and I went to Floyd Central. But anytime we had like the joint theater stuff, and he and I are both theater kids,
yeah,
then we'd see each other for the joint plays there. And of course, we'd be the only wrestling guys, so so John and I go way, way back.
yeah.
But,
Yeah, no, I just crossed paths with him a couple of times just doing the research with Corny and everything. So
yeah, so I'm sure he probably remembers you because
probably
there's a nice small tight community of wrestling historians, so everybody kind of knows everybody.
That is absolutely true. Yeah,
yeah.
It's funny you say that because it's wild to me that there is like a specific like set of like people keeping track of wrestling statistics from like the 60s through the mid 80s and everything.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not knocking it at all because you can't see it, but I've got like 8 books of Memphis wrestling statistics on my shelf and old wrestling cards, and I love them. They're oh gosh, I can't remember the Mark I can't remember the gentleman's name that wrote them. He did, or he co-authored a couple of books with Corny too, but
okay.
Yeah, but yeah, oh man, I slip in my mind and I hate that. But yeah, he collect old programs and everything that he collected too. It's like I've got a bunch of those collections. Like,
nice.
Yeah.
What I love about John's work is that he's really digging into like the really deep heydays of wrestling where there's not a lot of history, there's not a lot of documentation, and of course he's being of the Southern Indiana Louisville area, he's documenting a lot of Louisville history, which there's much of that. Way before the days of Memphis wrestling was our territory. We had Dick the Bruiser from Indianapolis, that was our territory, and then even before that we had a lot of homegrown stuff. So yeah, there were some really great books that John's released over various wide-ranging topics or biographies on different wrestlers. So eatsleepwrestle.com is his website, so definitely check him out. But
he also co-authored Kenny Boland's illustrious biography.
Yes,
one of the most interesting books I've ever read in my life. I do have to say.
Because you don't know necessarily if everything in that book is true or everything in that book is 100% BS. But
Oh
that's
man,
Kenny.
there's the thing, and then what's
That's
funny
what
to
I love
me,
about Kenny.
what is funny to me is I have seen that man sign that book, and then people talk to him about parts in the book, and he has no idea what they're talking about. He's never read his own book. Yeah, and yeah, you can just tell he's giving like the most generic answer he possibly can. You can tell him anything he wanted to was in that book. And he'd be like, well, if it's in there, it's got to be true then, right? It's like in that Kenny Bolin way, that we all know and love.
Oh, love it.
Uh,
Yeah. Dean's book is a lot of fun, and John Cosper wrote a book on Dean Hill's life, basically kind of before he gets into the professional wrestling business, and then while he's in, and of course a little bit after as well. So we're going to talk about some heydays of professional wrestling, especially in the Louisville area, and so that's I can't wait for that. That's gonna be a fun show.
you know, one of
So
the finest cops in Louisville's history as well, too, by the way.
yes, he is. And
Yeah.
I tell you what, I mean, even before he get the wrestling, Dean Hill has rubbed elbows with a lot of famous people. And there's a couple of cool stories in the book. Basically one I'm actually going to kind of give him a little props for when we
Yeah.
talk about it. But yeah, so but getting to our subject du jour here.
Hmm.
A deep dive into the funny pages. And of
The
course, this is a
funny.
Yes, and of course, this is an idea that you had here brought to the table. So, hey, let's talk about newspaper comic books because people don't talk about newspaper comic books
Yeah.
as often as they should, and I agree.
Yeah. I think that like I was thinking like what can we do to like really kind of add something to the year and like maybe talk about different kind of styles of comics every once in a while because it's like as far as
Oh,
I'm concerned like it's like yes our traditional this is I got inspired from a YouTube video. I got to say this. This made me think of this and how or indirectly I'll say. But the
sure.
video is do you ever watch this fella? I think I've talked about it a couple of times. Matt, Matt, whatever. He does comic history videos
Oh, yeah,
about
yeah,
things.
yeah.
I sent you that ElfQuest video that he did that was
Yeah,
a really cool documentary.
Yeah, that guy.
Well,
Yeah,
he released one a couple of days ago about how Bone is doing so much more successfully sales wise than basically Marvel and DC are combined, counting with Scholastic's influence and everything.
yeah.
And that it's like, yeah, it's like comics necessarily aren't hurting. It's just Marvel and DC that their brand isn't is on par because manga's everywhere and all that. And it's like, and that is true.
Yeah.
But it's like, not to, I'm not trying to slight any kind of other format because it's like I'm trying to embrace them. But yeah,
Mhm.
I think like coming this year, I'd like to talk more about different kind of uh different comic styles and formats like French comics, like
Oh,
Mobius
yeah.
and things like that. That kind of stuff. Some of the Elric stuff that I've got, I think we could showcase one time. And be really cool with that. The Italian comics, the Benelli comics. We could do a deep kind of discussion on those. That
Oh,
kind.
what's the one that the Incal, the one that Jodorowsky and Mobius did?
Yeah. That kind of stuff. You
Oh,
know,
yeah.
yeah.
Please, yes.
Yeah, but just that kind of because it's like comics all over the world, man, or different things. Oh man, do you know the Eternaut or if I'm remembering for the Argentinian comic
I'm
that
not familiar with that one. No.
yeah, there was the dude was like it was right when the Argentinian government was having some kind of weird civil unrest, right?
Okay. Yeah.
And so this was going on for years, but it was his thing was being published as this underground comic book, and like
Hmm.
the images from that comic were used as like iconography or iconography, excuse me,
Yeah.
symbols. Sorry, tongue tied. Symbols for the resistance or whatever. So they'd spray paint like this guy, the Eternaut, who is like, he's in a barren wasteland. Like the comic was like this guy in this barren wasteland trying to rely on other people to survive. And like,
Okay.
it was a cool story, but it was like he was risking his life to like get these pages printed and like having to
Wow.
move his family everywhere. And it was like a very tragic story to tell. But yeah,
Man.
it's like comics as a medium is wild, man. It's so much more than like than just like the big two. And we're going to talk about the big two a lot too, obviously.
Sure. Yeah.
Everything's influenced with it. But manga is something else too. That it's like we don't give a lot of love to, and it's like there's some manga series that I really do love, and I think we should talk about. Like I'd love to talk
Nice.
about Akira. Yeah.
Yeah, I see. I
But
haven't really, we're both having trouble speaking. Delved deeply too much into mangas. Like I've read my fair share of like Fist of the North Star and Berserk, but that's probably about it.
yeah,
But I mean, it's cool. The popular mangas are like your superhero, your sci-fi, your fantasy ones. But like, there's also mangas that are just like romance. They're just
yeah.
normal family dramas. I mean,
There's
it's like
basketball mangas. Yeah,
yes,
yeah,
there's more stuff. Yeah. So
yeah,
like there are mangas literally for everybody because in Japan, pretty much everybody reads manga.
right.
It's the thing you
Yeah.
do. But it's
But
because
but
there are
yeah,
so many subjects.
yeah. But sorry. We're getting off kilter already. Yeah, we're already
Yes.
shooting our old. Yeah, wrong episode. Sorry. Rewind. Back to the newspaper comics. Sorry, but yeah, no. So this is like the first part in a series, I guess you could say, that we're gonna do.
Nice.
Unofficially, I've never spoken to George about this before. I'm just kind of springing
I'm
this
going
on
with
him
it.
now. But yeah. But it's like the
Approved.
first. Okay, cool. Yeah. So the first part of a series of exploring other styles of comics,
Yeah.
and we're talking about the funny pages, and
Hmm.
so it's like I was thinking about it. I don't know about for you, but probably my first comic experience was the funny pages.
Oh yeah, totally. Yeah.
But before I ever got a comic book in my hand, and
Mhm.
I remember them the Sunday morning comics. They were all in color, all on like there was that like big 12-page spread, and they had all the strips of like whenever I was a kid, it was like Garfield and Calvin and Hobbes and oh gosh, Hagar the Horrible. I remember was another one.
Yeah.
Kathy. Never
Peanut.
understood Rex Morgan 3D or 3M or MD or whatever the hell
Right,
the
there's
soap
apartment
opera one.
in the apartment 3G as well. Yeah, hell
Right,
like
right, right,
stuff.
right, right.
And Mary Worth, so that was another one of those
Yeah,
too. But yeah, of course you had like your Peanuts and your Family Circle and
yeah,
even like Heathcliff and stuff like that. But there was of course a lot of other licensed properties as well. Like Muppet Babies had a very long running,
yeah,
basically daily and a Sunday morning comic strip, and
yeah.
actually kind of gives a moment here to kind of give you a little show and tell here. And sorry, V, we got a little
Yeah,
Batman
we do have
there.
some Batman in the show, V. Sorry.
But this is a little bit more of an example of the quote unquote modern day, or kind of still what the dailies and the Sunday pages look like for comic strips. Because traditionally, your daily strips are going to be your black and whites. You may get like a couple of panels across there. That's all you get for one day. That's what you get for the whole week. But
Yeah,
then you get to Sunday, and Sundays the color, the splash
the big
pages.
spread. Yeah,
Yeah, the big spread there. So you would totally get that stuff all the time there in your daily comic strips, probably from like the late 50s, pretty much on to even
yeah,
today. Because we still
yeah.
have, not as much, granted, but there still are comics running. Like, Charles Schultz has been dead for years, but Peanuts is still running in syndication,
Oh
things
yeah.
like that. But then
And
before,
now
oh,
saying that too, it's like when you're talking about it's like now though that is a sequential story for those comics too.
it
So
is,
it's like
yes.
you'd still have like maybe 3 or 4 panels with it, and people would cut out their favorite comics and paste them into little picture books to try and it was almost making the first trade paperbacks, if you will,
Yes, it
because then
was.
they would have like the big strips in the order that they were printed in, then the big splash page on the next page, and then they'd flip it over and have these long stories with it. And that was some of the first forms of comic book collecting too.
Yeah,
That has gone back quite a long time, going back to some of the earliest newspaper strips.
yeah. And now one kind of definite difference in how the newspapers were done, previously to kind of more of the modern day stuff. The 1940s newspapers looked a little different, and so did the
Mm-hmm.
Sunday comics. Because again, Collaborative Comics, Tommy was kind enough to donate both of these hardback covers. So that Batman Sunday Dailies, the 68 to 69 collection there, that is for sale at Collaborative Comics, as is this one from Kitchen Sink Press. The Batman Sunday Classics 1943 to 1946. Let's check these out. Of course, you get a lot of history of, of course, the comic strips here, and the people, Bill Finger and Bill Kane and all the people that were behind this and all that kind of jazz like that. Even kind of some collections there, because Kitchen Sink is really good when it comes to their history and stuff. So they put out a hardback something, it's going to be pretty comprehensive. Of course, you get some ads in there, promotional ads as well. But yeah, these are the comic strips of the 1940s for Batman books, folks.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't that book roughly the scale of the page that it would be printed on, or would it be bigger than that? Because I'm thinking that it'd be maybe a little, maybe bigger is what I'm thinking.
Slightly bigger, yes. For a newspaper, it sure would be. Like this is a hardback, like large. You can see a portion of my large head here, but yes, but yeah, I was gonna say, for a newspaper, it would be slightly larger. But man, that's the kind of stuff you get, folks.
That beautiful page, and that kind of stuff wouldn't be just limited to like to Batman and Robin or superhero stuff. You'd have like Prince Valiant or Buck Rogers, or all beautiful artworks on these things. And let me segue into one of my show and tells real quick now that we're talking about that one.
Yeah, because like the artwork for Prince Valiant, the Flash Gordon, Alex Raymond stuff. That's not comic books, folks. That's freaking art right there. It's beautiful stuff.
Now people back in the day too, like to don't mistake, like comic book artists and pulp artists were like the dregs. Like newspaper, and like if you were a newspaper cartoonist though, there were ones with celebrity. Like people knew who they were. Like they were kind of like some of the earliest influencers. And Alex Raymond was George just mentioned him, was this dude who created Flash Gordon, or no, Buck Rogers or Flash Gordon.
Flash.
Yeah. But Flash Gordon, amongst many other newspaper greats, but considered one of the greatest artists of newspaper comics. Like this book is a great study of his techniques and everything. Yeah, The Strange Death of Alex Raymond by Dave Sim and Carson Grubaugh. And it's framed as like almost a noir story, a noir mystery, but it goes into a lot of the history of newspaper comics at the time, and like with the different styles of the artwork, and like the brush strokes, and like how it was like almost photorealistic in some places. And like some of the different styles that they would, or some of the techniques that they would use to achieve it, all done in this bizarre, like kind of noir framed kind of story, right? And like, and about how like Alex Raymond's, or framed around Alex Raymond's car crash death. But as far as a study, as far as that kind of style and celebrity, and to get kind of a feel of what the Sunday comics were, or comics in general were at the time, that is a fantastic book about that history. I highly recommend it.
Yeah, because like the way Alex Raymond especially did faces, like there was such a romance to it. Yeah, it's gorgeous. But of course, like on the Sundays, splash pages, he'd get like a big splash page, and talk about using your space to the best of your ability.
Yes.
His stuff, and like the Prince Valiant Sunday dailies, like I'm telling you, folks, like I'm not being facetious. This is art we are talking about. There are collections of stuff, like highfalutin people who wouldn't dare read a Superman or a Captain America comic, worship this kind of stuff, folks. Like this is real comic books to them. So like this is like the highest level of art.
I think some of the highest art that's ever been auctioned off have been pages of Little Nemo and Dreamland. Talk about an old comic from back in the day with that was like a beloved comic. And because you got to think too, it's like a lot of these comics too were printed around the times when people they didn't have television necessarily. Radio was about radio and books, and it's like literacy wasn't always as literacy was pretty high in America in, I'd say, the 30s and 40s,
right? But it wasn't as high as it is today. But you had a lot of people that basically relied on comics or like the pulp stories that were a little bit lower brow, and literally it's kind of how people learn to read, or just kind of learn to enjoy some just some fantasy, just kick back a little bit.
Right. But yeah, it's like in Sunday Comics, it's like that was kind of a thing that kind of like people of all classes could even kind of come together and enjoy.
Yeah.
It was the artwork behind them, and a lot of them even made commentaries to some of the first political cartoons were these pages too.
Yeah. I
And
mean, that's how like essentially like kind of we had the terms for like yellow journalism because we would have basically these editorials or stories that print up to be completely false, so they would be leaning towards one corporation or one businessman or whatever else, and then you would have basically comics in your newspapers or magazines or pamphlets or whatever else that would be mocking these people openly.
yeah,
So yeah, it's just some fascinating stuff where you're basically like using politics or using your voice to kind of speak out against corruption or whatever else. But then yeah, you would have basically even like Sunday comics like Bloom County,
yeah.
or later Doonesbury was a perfect example. Oh, hang on, yeah, let's bring
Yeah.
that up,
My,
please.
my Bloom County. Yeah, this is out of my personal collection. I got the Humble bundle that had the entire book collection of it, and this is one of them. And I printed them out at work and used my binding privileges to make my own book out of it. But
And that's just
yeah.
gorgeous that you made that yourself too.
Oh well, thank you. It's yeah. I mean, it's like it's pretty basic, like as far as like printing and binding's concerned. But yeah, it's like
But
I
still,
tried
it's
to
a
format
nicely
it the
bound.
same way and everything. But
Yeah,
yeah, it's like it's my
yeah,
physical copy of it too. Like
yeah,
yeah,
that's great. But
yeah,
yeah, it's like yeah. Basically, Bloom County and Doonesbury definitely gets political.
yeah.
It gets social on there, and so of course, there's great commentary on that. Calvin and Hobbes sometimes would do that as well.
Oh,
So
Calvin and Hobbes. Oh, I love it. Calvin and Hobbes didn't necessarily stay political. I didn't think, but it's like there were
sometimes we get
definitely.
like a social kind of.
Yeah, oh yeah, there would be a social comment from time to time, but yeah,
Mm-hmm.
these strips, these
Mm-hmm.
strips are just classic. Calvin just being a little shithead sometimes, and oh yeah, one of those big color pages, but always like
Yep.
endearing. Like you didn't want to dislike him, but yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I'm a huge Calvin and Hobbes fan. I have a whole set of
Likewise.
of these things. Yeah, those are actually kind of one of my things. It's like if I need to feel good, I'll read some Calvin and Hobbes. Like
It's like my cousin Brian, your best friend that you've known
yeah,
since basically childhood. He had for years a little stuffed animal that was a little tiger, so we called him Hobbs because basically Brian was Calvin because
oh yeah, yeah,
Brian was
absolutely,
Brian
yeah,
was a precocious little shit, and we loved him even though we knew like one day he's going to set fire to us all, sort of thing like that. So it's like yeah,
right,
that's why we love him. But yeah, like the whole freaking family just accepted that that our this child is this fictional character here. But
yeah,
so Calvin Hobbes is very dear. Of course, my dad's a humongous Garfield fan. I mean, like the dude has like so many like little Garfield statuettes and little figurines, and we had it's all kinds of
yeah.
Garfield crap around the house. So
Oh
yeah,
yeah, it's funny you mention that too, because it's like to talk about that Jim Davis, the guy that like I have found that as much as I have loved newspaper cartoons, the more I learn about newspaper cartoonists, kind
mm,
of like turn it off because it's like not all of them are great people. Like if you like Dennis the Menace, never look up anything about the guy that wrote it and his relationship with his family. Never do that.
nope. Yeah.
Yeah, and
Oh, what was the Dilberts? Yeah, that dude.
oh, Scott Adams. Oh my
Yeah,
gosh. Yeah.
he went off the deep end.
Yeah, he just nuked everybody's. Yeah, Dilbert used to be that funny, quirky '90s Office thing, the animated series. Like the worst thing that the Dilbert guy did was make the Dill burrito. It was that vegan burrito that gave you horrible gas. And yeah, but well, until he went on a, a horribly racist tirade. Uh,
yeah, and basically just destroyed his own career, got himself canceled,
well,
the strips pulled, and there you go.
well,
Dilbert
he's
is now.
actually like so he is still currently active. Smokes and Road Beers is the fourth most watched show on Rumble.
Uh
Scott Adams is the third most watched show on Rumble. So yeah, if that tells you anything.
Oh, that's awesome. You
Yeah.
guys are second fiddle to Dilbert, man. That's cool. That's
No, it's
cool, man.
not. No, it's not.
I'm not second fiddle to anybody, so that at least you got that going for you. Just take that, man.
Oh gosh, but yeah, it's like that's kind of weirdly sad too, because it's almost like any kind of artist is almost tortured with their stuff. Like
Oh yeah,
Bill Watterson, the guy that did Calvin and Hobbes, like he never marketed any of his very did very few little marketing things. I know there was like a kids
right.
like some kind of teaching aid book that he licensed out, but like there was never a licensed Calvin there or the Calvin sticker of Calvin peeing on things. Never
Hmm.
licensed by Bill Watterson. He hates
Nope.
them.
Yeah,
Doesn't like them. They're all bootleg.
that's
They're
literally as unlicensed as a Punisher skull you see on the basically the other side of that truck's windshield. So
right. Yeah, absolutely.
yeah,
Yeah. So yeah, Bill Watterson not happy about that. But then like, he could have made millions off of the marketing, but he never wanted to. Jim Davis, on the other hand, he happily took the money. And I'm blaming Jim Davis. I love Garfield. Garfield's
yeah.
his yeah. It's like I just
I mean,
love the idea of Garfield and
I,
Odie, you
Be-
know.
between like all the different holiday specials where you had like Lorenzo Music that did the voice, and then Lou Rawls did the singing, and then
Yeah.
when you had like the actual Saturday morning cartoon, we had like the backup U.S. Acres, story, cartoons as well. Like, yeah, that's my childhood.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
So
Oh
yeah,
man.
so
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. No, and granted, I've never seen any of the Bill Murray Garfield movies, and I haven't seen the most recent Garfield movie, and I really have no desire to see
Yeah.
any of
It's
those.
I'm fine with that. Like if I'm reading a newspaper now, and flipping through the comics, I'll read a Garfield strip still, obviously. But I
Mhm.
have no desire to seek out like any Garfield film at the moment.
Yeah, no,
Yeah, at all.
the old stuff, like I'll go revisit the holiday specials a lot of times, or every now and then if I find the Garfield series streaming online. Because like there was a couple really good Garfield episodes, and U.S. Acres is a cartoon that people don't talk about enough because that.
I do remember that now because that was the backup show on Garfield,
Mhm.
wasn't it?
Well, because that was Jim Davis's other strip. So like
Okay.
he had Garfield for years, and he said, "Well, I'm going to do something different." So he does U.S. Acres, which is basically on a farm. You got a bunch of different animals on there, and so it wasn't as successful as Garfield, and it didn't last near as long. But that was literally
Right.
Jim Davis's other strip. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
uh,
Then
but
there was
but yeah, the
Blondie
USA.
or
But yeah, U.S. Acres had like on the cartoon episode, there was a couple really funny episodes, especially the pig ball episode.
nice.
Yeah. Wait, you were saying, sir?
Oh no,
About
yeah,
Blondie?
yeah, no, it's like yeah. Then there were other ships like Blondie was another one that I remembered, and then it was always written by Mort Wagner. But
Yeah.
even though Mort Wagner died, like in the hold
Or
up,
Mort Walker. Mort
Mort
Walker.
Walker, yeah, hold up,
Yeah.
let me make sure before I speak ill of somebody. But I think I'm going to estimate Mort Walker died in the 70s.
I believe
Uh,
you're right, though. Yeah.
yeah, oh nope, oh wow, did 2018?
Wow.
Wow,
Really?
so
Okay.
okay, yeah. Okay, I
So,
thought he
but
was one of those people that was still like ghost written under that and I
there,
mean still think he might be, is like a conglomerate or whatever. Cuz
right.
that's how the strips work now is like basically like legacy creators are like assigned like to it like who parts of the estate own them or sometimes or whatever like I
Mhm.
think that's part of the deal with Jim Davis strips like somebody else is doing Garfield now.
Right. Yeah.
But it's like I know other like I know there's certain like public domain stuff like Popeye is being done by somebody else.
Right.
But yeah.
Uh, but of course, like, Charles Schultz Peanut stuff, that's basically in kind of perpetuity, where basically there's kind of just like rehashing that. Same with like Family Circus.
Oh
Uh,
yeah, those are the same strips that they just keep running through. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
But of course, there are still strips that are being done today. You still can see some new ones as well. But of course, you've got another example of some more modern day stuff, which is, of course, translated into cartoon as well.
Yeah, this is one of my favorite comic strips of all time.
Bring
The
it up.
Boondocks.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is what's called a treasury collection, and what it is like it's probably 2 years worth of strips.
Hmm.
And these are some of these things are hysterical. They're very biting social commentary for the time. And
Very
if you remember anything about early 2000s pop culture, a lot of these strips will be kind of the events will be relevant to you, and
hmm
you get to see them from a black perspective, which is very educational to me, and
Yeah.
very but still, you can still laugh at them, and I love these collections because after a while the newspaper started to try and edit and censor Aaron Magruder, the writer and artist, or yeah, the writer and artist of the strip.
Yeah.
And so he writes a lot about what his struggles were with getting a lot of these printed. But yeah, these are hysterical in a lot of ways. They're not necessarily un-PC, but
Yeah. V.
Boondocks, man, V knows what I'm talking about. Yeah.
V.
Yeah, translated into a series on or no, Comedy Central, or no, Adult
Well,
Swim, right?
it was Adult Swim. Yeah. Cartoon Network.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah. But yeah, the series was hysterical too. Oh gosh,
But
I still watch that. Yeah.
But yeah, like you said, we were talking about that before the show. Like, as good as the cartoon was, the comic strips go harder.
Yeah. Yeah, especially with some of the stuff that they're talking about. And it's even like some of the books even reprint some of the strips that he couldn't print at the time. And
Yeah.
it was just like, oh damn. Like I think there was some OJ Simpson jokes that they needed to change, and like, yeah. And yeah, oh man, but yeah, if you get, I love newspaper comic strip collections. Just like reading, just sitting down and reading them all in one chunk. You can find a lot of them still online. Like there's like you can go to like certain web, or King Finger Syndicate, I think is still a website that you can go to, and like
Mhm.
a couple of other comics or places where you can go online and read that day's strip for
Yeah.
free. And you can go, like, I think there's even like an ad-free subscription where you can get them sent to you or whatever. But yeah, you can still go and pick whatever you want and read that day's strip. So it's like, check some of them out if you want to. There a lot of them are still great. There's a lot of classic strips out there for free. uh Far Side collections are another thing that if you ever get a chance to check out, that
Oh.
if you're into absurdist humor, man, Gary Larson, it's Far Side,
hmm
something special. I unfortunately do not have a physical copy of it. I don't have digital. I don't think he ever put an ebook out of those.
I don't
But
think he is. No. Yeah.
yeah, but
Um,
no, they ran for so long in the paper.
and then
But
you also had the Far Side Light kind of knockoff called Speed Bump. Uh,
yeah,
Yeah, and that was very much kind of knockoff of the Far Side,
yeah.
but still had some good stuff too. Though for
Oh
years I
yeah.
had for years I had this little just one picture strip hanging up in my room, just kind of stuck to the wall, and it was literally like this crazy looking dude, like and had like a fringe jacket on, and basically the comment was lunatic fringe. So yeah, he's just wearing like a fringe jacket, but he's just like looking completely crazed and whatnot. I was like, yeah, I love it.
Yeah.
So yeah, yeah, Gary Larson, yeah, definitely the Far Side, some absurdist stuff. But of course, you've got still like even you have indie newspaper strips. Like you can go out and find different indie creators out there.
Oh yeah.
Of course, one of the more famous indie creators, basically did the strip Homestar Runner. If you guys remember
Yeah.
that from the like the late '90s, early 2000s, that was a
Which I
great.
believe all of that is back on YouTube now.
Yep,
Yeah. So, oh
yep,
man,
sure is.
if you want to watch some goofy, funny stuff, Homestar Runner, man, Strong Bad is Strong Bad
Mhm.
makes me giggle.
Yes.
But
It's like one part superhero, one part pro wrestling, all parts stupid. So
yeah,
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 it's
but
it's
yeah,
it's good stuff.
yeah, and it's like that transition, like newspaper comics have kind of gone to become web comics. And
Yeah.
it's like there's a lot of people doing their own a lot of great long running series,
hmm
that are out there. One of my personal favorites is like kind of an RPG dork and a Star Wars fan. Have you ever heard of Darths and Droids?
No.
So it's okay. So what it is it takes pictures from the Star Wars movies. It starts with episode 1. And the premise is it's like there is these are kids playing a Star Wars based D&D game who in their world they don't have the Star Wars movies. This is just entirely like what the GM is coming up with. So it's like
Okay.
one character, yeah, the Qui-Gon Jinn Obi-Wan or Liam Neeson character is
hmm
kind of like the hothead, like the hothead kill monster. or wannabe, the guy that wants to solve problems with violence. Obi-Wan's kind of like the dorky one that wants to, kind of figure things out. R2D2 is a player that didn't want, or that min-maxed himself into a robot, so he doesn't have appendages with numbers.
No.
But yeah, but it's done with dialogue balloons and everything. And they've gone through, like, I think they've done just about every Star Wars movie at this point. But there's like
Wow.
a whole comic story going along with it, and they publish it weekly, or bi-weekly, Sunday comic strips. And it's if it ain't blocked at your work and you sit at a desk all day, it's a great friggin' read, because it'll take you about 2 months to go through everything, really. But
Nice.
it's
Of course,
hysterical.
one comic strip that kind of turned into a comic book and kind of go like they have sporadic series is Knights of the Dinner Table, which is
Yeah.
basically kind of spoofing, basic comedy spoof of like D&D and D&D players and stuff like that. So, what was the when Bill Watterson ended Calvin and Hobbes, you had a cartoon that came up as a replacement. I think it was called Foxtrot.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that was supposed to be kind of like the replacement for Calvin Hobbes, because you had like a sassy, nerdy kid sort of thing like that. Like it was kind of funny at times, but it was definitely the Wish version of Calvin and Hobbes.
Yeah, it's like if maybe I might feel differently had I been more endeared to it reading it like as a child, and
Yeah.
but it's like I was like 12 or 13 when Calvin and Hobbes ended, and it's like after that it was like, okay, Foxtrot, it's there, that like yeah. Now, actually, one of my favorite more recent ones that I think is kind of ended now, it might have ended in like 2018, was Get Fuzzy. Have you ever heard of that one?
No, I'm not familiar with that one.
It's a guy, and it's a single guy with a sassy dog, or with a kind of dumb dog and a sassy cat, and
Okay.
a really kind of homicidally sassy cat. And yeah, it's I don't know. I like funny animal comics.
Oh,
And
sure, yeah.
yeah, that's the other thing with the Sunday comics too, is that like there was a lot of the funny animal comics. That's where they came from. And especially Disney characters, like Carl Banks did a lot of the early Donald Duck Sunday strips too,
Oh, yeah.
if I
Yep.
remember correctly. Yeah, and yeah, he's considered like the Norman Rockwell of Donald Duck art. So
It really. Here's the thing too. Like I've noticed when it comes to like the cartoon comics for like the older Disney stuff, what is it with the Duck takeover? Like you occasionally had some Mickey Mouse, some Goofy, some Pluto, stuff like that, but primarily the Disney books you find are Donald Duck, Huey, Dewey, and Louie, and Uncle Scrooge.
yeah, and I think that really is because a lot of those were trying to mimic the Carl Banks kind of style.
Okay.
Because he was the one that really influenced a lot of it. There's some really great documentaries out there about like his artwork, because he drew books for something like 30 years,
Okay.
and didn't like, nobody really knew who he was, because Disney was so protective, like, and they wanted everybody to think that Walt Disney was still writing all this stuff,
Right. Yeah.
and they really didn't give a shit about the comic, but
Mm.
like people loved the comic and the Sunday
Oh yeah.
strips, right? Yeah. And but like I think like they only found him because like maybe he wrote back to like one random fan letter that might have gotten through to him, and it was so weird, but he finally did get the recognition, the towards that. But a
Hmm.
lot of that was just his output, where he just loved drawing it.
Yeah.
And that was like, I mean, to the detriment of like he lost his family because of it, basically. But yeah, there was just so much of it, and it was just so good. But,
Yeah, it's kind of this some of the stories you will get with some of these comic things, because like I mentioned earlier the Muppet Babies comic strip, like Guy
yeah,
Gilchrist was like literally 100% behind the Muppet Babies comic strip from its inception to the ending. He was also involved a little bit with the animated series as well, but basically the comic strip was his thing. But of course, he was a cartoonist long before that, whatever else. But now that he has basically had that Jim Henson connection, that he worked with Jim, before Jim's passing, he has kind of become okay with the fact that basically people want to come up to him and talk to him about Jim Henson,
yeah,
because he had that connection, he had that interaction with him, and that's just such a special connection for people who are Muppet fans or anybody that's a Henson fan. It's like if anybody that you come across that worked with Henson, like you just want to absorb everything they had.
Right.
because like it's like you were around that magic, and that magic was very special to you. It still is. I mean, to me, it's like
He was a pioneer, in
yeah,
puppetry, and what he just what imagination could do.
yeah. And
Yeah.
so anybody that worked within that purview, and Guy Gilchrist was definitely involved in that with doing the Muppet Baby strip and being part of the animated series. So yeah, it's like anybody that's in that purview. So it's like it's really interesting. Like if you're ever afraid to talk about any Jim Henson stuff around Guy, like don't worry. Like he's heard a lot of it. He's there. He's ready to take your hugs and your love and all that kind of good stuff, man. But yeah, so
Yeah.
he's a good dude to talk about that kind of thing. But yeah, like he had such a hand in that. But yeah, so it's so interesting to see how kind of like they're still. It's kind of like they always talk about like newspapers are dead or radio is dead or this is dead. Like they're still there.
Yeah.
It's like maybe the masses don't read them or the masses don't absorb them as much as they used to. But like those mediums are still there. They're still there to be appreciated.
Yeah.
And the people that make them are still there to be appreciated for you to do so. So yeah.
Right. Yeah, it's like nothing's ever going to be as big as it was. That's just what it is. Like,
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
barring some kind of horrible regression back to whatever time period that that's never going to happen.
I don't know. I mean,
Yeah.
like somebody could launch an hit it, set off like a big EMP thing, get a worldwide blackout, man, and we're all back to reading newspapers and magazines again. You never know.
Yeah, fair.
Yeah, we could have like a big swell of the print and the physical media because all digital media is gone. So,
Yeah, that is true.
I'm just
I
saying.
don't know, man. Yeah, how this is
We don't
going
want
anymore.
that apocalypse to happen, but that could. So
Yeah, right.
stock up your DVDs and your books, folks.
I think I'm pretty good on both aspects. I feel
Yes,
comfortable.
yeah. I was it's like I've got a pretty nice collection, but yours puts mine to shame. So because my nowhere near what it used to be anymore. But
yeah, you've kind of scaled down too. I'm thinking I've already scaled down a few pieces. I think I might start to cull a little more. Like,
well, I've got a big bin of DVDs downstairs, so most of my Blu-rays are up here, but some of my like out of print DVDs are up here just so I can keep them, where I can see them. So
yeah, it's just kind of like after a while, it's like you've got so many of them. Like, there's no way that you've watched everything that you've got. Like, just
well, at least once. I've watched everything at least once. Yeah.
Well, I mean, just generally speaking. Like, I mean, I wasn't speaking of yours, but yeah. It's when you get to the point of like this madness back here, like I have discs that I haven't even unwrapped. It's like,
oh wow.
Someday I'm gonna feel. Someday I'm gonna get the urge to watch 1943 with John Belushi and Dan Aykroyd, and then I will crack it out of the cellophane. Not that kind of deal. And it's like, man, it's like if they've been there for so long, and I've had it for like 8 years or something at this point, like, and I've never watched it. It's like, why do I still have it? So
it's a Spielberg movie.
Yeah. I don't have any other necessarily affinity towards other Spielberg movies besides Close Encounters.
But it's Spielberg's first bomb.
Oh yeah, that was a good point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the Golden Boy's first bomb. Yeah.
Maybe I do need a copy of Duel, is what this is telling me. I don't need to get rid of anything. I just need to acquire more to make the rest of it make sense. I need Duel. That's what it is.
Yeah, not that crappy remake. The OG. Yeah. The TV movie. Yes.
The OG, terrifying as hell TV movie. Back when they weren't afraid to put a little production in TV movies.
Yep. Yeah, when TV movies were big events.
Yeah. Oh man, some of the TV. We need to do an episode about TV movies before we go up.
There you go.
Yeah.
Literally earlier this year, Michelle had never seen the OG Salem's Lot before. It's like, baby doll, we're going to sit down and watch this, but it's probably going to be over 2 viewings. Why is that? It's 4 hours. Why is it 4 hours? Well, it was broadcast over 2 nights, 2 hours each night.
Yeah.
So that's why. But yes, this was appointment television for an entire country. Huge
man,
this damn thing.
Yeah. Now, see, it's like I was a little too young for Salem's Lot, but I remember The Stand.
Yeah. That was a big one too. Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
the
honestly,
OG stand.
any of the Stephen King stuff, like, as mostly ABC was kind of usually the home channel for that. Any of this stuff, even like stuff like the Tommy Knockers that no one cared about, right?
Yeah,
Even some of those still felt like an event. Where like, oh, you got a Stephen King miniseries,
yeah. And
and
it's like, say what you will about the effects now, but they weren't, watching them on that giant wooden tube TV that was like a piece of furniture in your living room, they didn't look too bad.
yeah.
Like you were still like Stephen King got you with some of these TV miniseries. I still prefer the Stephen King Shining to the Kubrick one, to be honest with you.
Matter of fact, I was about to mention that, like, in the wake of Doctor Sleep coming out, there's been this whole new generation. Because that's the weird thing. Finding the TV version of The Shining is difficult to find in physical media, but there's a trick to it. If you're looking for just The Shining, it's expensive, but there's apparently like a 6-disc set you can buy that's like The Shining and like 2 other Stephen King TV
Be right back.
movies.
Hold up 1 second. I know exactly what you're talking about. Keep talking. I'll be back in 2 seconds.
Do you have it? What? Oh my god! But there's like a 3-pack. It's got like 3 Stephen King TV movies on there. The Shining is one of them, and this copy is cheaper to buy online than basically just buying The Shining online. So, oh, that's it. The Triple Terror Collection.
Notice still in the shrink wrap.
Yeah, so that's The Shining. It's it, and what's the third one?
The Salem's Lot, the 2004 Rob Lowe
The
version.
remake, yeah, with Rob Lowe and
Yes.
was it was it Donald Sutherland?
I
know it's Rob Lowe.
Andre Brower. Wow. Rob Lowe, Andre Bauer, Donald Sutherland, Samantha Harris, Rutger Hauer, James Cromwell. Holy shit!
I forgot Rutger Hauer was in there. Okay,
Yeah.
So anyway, if you're looking for a physical copy of that Shining TV movie series, that Triple Terror Collection is the cheapest method to do so, and of course you get it, and you also get the Salem's Lot remake. So so if you go online to Amazon or whatever else, that's the cheapest way to get is that Triple Terror Collection. But anyway,
have it like. Oh yeah.
Yeah, I think it's like $20 or $30 or something like that for a bit. It's much cheaper. It's much cheaper.
You can get this on Amazon right now for $7.50.
Oh, there you go. Oh, shoot. There you go. $7.50. I wouldn't need about $2.50.
Apparently there's a Blu-ray now of the TV Shining too. So
yes, but that one's expensive. So it's cheaper to get the
this one's $21.
Okay, well, that's cheaper than
just for the Blu-ray of the TV Shining. But yeah.
Okay.
If you just want to watch it, the 750 copy is just fine too.
And you get 2 other TV movies with that too. I mean,
it was a pretty good TV movie too for its time. Tim Curry, talking about Stephen King adaptation. Tim Curry in here, that's a hell of a movie. Watch that. His Pennywise was still iconic to this day.
And I love that the 2-parter remake gives a little bit of love to Tim Curry as well, because there's like a scene where you see like a bunch of clowns, and there's one that kind of looks like a Tim Curry Pennywise. So it's like,
right.
Get a little love to Tim.
Yep.
Yeah, that was a great performance. Yeah, I haven't seen that Salem's Lot remake in a really, really long time, and I think there was a reason for it. So just stick with the OG.
I don't think I've ever seen it to be honest with you. Now, what I have seen was that god awful Salem's Lot that they put out on HBO Max last year.
Oh, the new one?
Was oh man, the best parts of the trailer makes it look so much better than what it is. And it's I was so looking forward to a badass vampire movie, and that was a wet fart.
That is that is disappointing. So thank you for saving me on that one, because I haven't got around to that one yet. So
you are welcome.
I was playing on. But yeah, so if you want a good vampire movie, back we were talking about earlier, go see Nosferatu today. Well, not today. Yeah. It's a little late, but go see it tomorrow. There you go.
Yeah. And then Near Dark still might be on Tubi if you're really jonesing tonight.
Yes,
watch that.
That's what's so like Near Dark. Like you can still purchase Near Dark on DVD for like under $20, but it has never been on Blu-ray before in the United States.
It has been on Blu-ray. I have that too.
Oh,
actually, on Blu-ray, but it was printed by Lionsgate in a very small run. or what? Not necessarily a small run, but it was like I got the DVD, I got the Blu-ray for like $20.
Oh, okay.
But the problem with it is it's very prone to disc rot. And the last time I watched it, it glitched at one point, and I was like, "Oh man, my disc is dying." And it's like I even had like custom cover art printed up and everything, so I'm on the lookout for that Anchor Bay 2-disc DVD set so that I can have a
Okay.
physical copy of Near Dark. But
Yeah, well, because I thought I had a physical DVD copy of it, and I must have gotten rid of it or given it to somebody or whatever else. So I found one on Amazon, brand new. I think it was like 10, $15, something like that. So you can still purchase the old DVD of it. But yeah, friggin' Tubi, once again, the savior of and purveyor of old movies, of the good stuff there. Tubi has literally got streaming for free as we speak. So one of the best vampire literally was released a week after The Lost Boys, and frankly should have got a lot of the love that Lost Boys got, but Lost Boys won the popularity contest. But Near Dark is a great vampire movie that's almost kind of an anti-vampire movie at the same time.
yeah, yeah, it breaks some of the vampire rules, but it doesn't. It not necessarily. It's more of a Southern Gothic vampire story
Mm-hmm.
too.
Yeah.
It reunites the Alien cast of Bill Paxton, Lance Henriksen, and Jeanette Goldstein, and
Yep.
they're the most savage, badass vampires. Oh, they're so cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. I'm actually looking at Amazon right now. I can get the DVD. Shit, that might be a region 2, but
Yeah. This was a region 1, I think, at least.
yeah,
But yeah, but it literally, I think they had just wrapped, like, Aliens had just wrapped like a few months prior to Near Dark,
right,
and
yeah,
so basically Catherine Bigelow, who directed Near Dark, that was her directorial debut, was married to James Cameron at the time. So basically, James kind of uncredited helped her with some casting and with some effects and some other stuff for the movie. Helped her out with this one, but yeah, so basically a nice chunk of the Aliens cast show up in Near Dark.
yeah.
So yes, yeah, I
It's
love
such a
it. But
good
yeah,
movie.
but I think it was literally maybe like 6 to 9 months after Aliens had wrapped. So like this
Yeah.
was literally like the next job. So,
That was another one that Bart turned me on to, man. It was like it was weird, like growing up, like I'd go to the library all the time and rent like, all the movies that they had, which were like the regular, like, Hollywood
mhm.
fare and whatever. And then
Yeah,
like once I was friends with Brian, like his parents like taped everything off HBO and like
yeah, us too.
yeah, 3 movies a tape. So I would watch everything on there, and it would be like random shit from like Enter the Dragon to Heathers to heavy metal,
Yep.
or whatever. And so, but it was great, And then like there comes Bart, who it's like at that point it's like I've watched all these movies. Now it's like here's Bart to tell me about all the foreign crap that I'm
I
gonna get to
mean,
watch. It like
I didn't know who Dario Argento was until I met Bart Dunn. So
right,
yeah,
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 me
yeah.
either, man. And it's like Bart had a way of selling you on movies, man. Like,
Hmm.
oh man, dude, Bart is a film is an encyclopedia of movies.
Absolutely,
Like
100%.
the especially the great bizarre weird ones.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah. And that was the thing too. Is like we all had kind of like, and we still do. We all have a little bit of a kind of just our circle of people like, yeah, we're not into like the. I mean, there's some of the mainstream stuff we do like, sure. I mean,
yeah,
back.
yeah.
Yeah, Back to the Future all day, any day, sure. But there's also a lot of really weird, subversive shit, stuff that shouldn't be won over by an audience, but is, or just
Yeah.
like really avant-garde stuff. Like Seth and I have gone down those rabbit holes numerous times. There's probably
Oh
other
yeah.
rabbit holes we've never gone down before, but always willing to. But yeah, it's
Yeah.
like so
One of my favorite experiences with you and your lovely wife Michelle was
mm,
when she asked me if I had ever heard of oh shit, what's his name? I'm uh I'm totally blanking on it now. The Dancing Outlaw.
oh,
Uh
Jessica White.
Jesco White. Yes, thank you. I totally blanked on his name. Again, and she was like, "Yeah, have you ever heard of him?" And I was like, "No." And so she put on that first documentary, right? And it was just and oh man, we laughed hysterically. Yeah, because she Wild and Woolly. She got it from Wild and Woolly. They're going out of
Yeah.
business sale, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yep.
And yeah, oh man, yeah, and this was wild. So I turned that on to everybody at work too about Jesco, and we still watch the clip about if you want to live to see tomorrow, you'll get in there and cook me some eggs or something about him not being nasty and
Yeah,
runny or
I want
whatever.
them sloppy running
Yeah,
eggs.
them sloppy runny eggs. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. A great did you know in Grand Theft Auto 5, did you know that Jesco White makes 2 appearances? Because
No.
one of the DJs of the country radio station is Jesco.
Oh
And then
my gosh.
also, Jesco makes a physical appearance. If there's one spot where you kind of go to like the outskirts, kind of like basically like the hillbilly area of LA, you
Yeah.
go to a way out spot and there's a dude literally dancing on a piece of cardboard.
That's old Jesco.
And that's
Wow.
old Jesco. Yeah. So
Oh
his
man.
voice and his physical appearance are both in Grand Theft Auto 5.
That is cool as hell.
Yeah, but Jesco has got 3 documentaries because you basically got his very first documentary, which aired on
Right.
PBS, and then you got the second documentary because Jesco, after the first documentary, got a
Whoa.
little bit of claim to fame, and so was on an episode of Roseanne for her hit TV show back in the 80s. So that gave him his 15 minutes. So his 15 minutes off that show opted the second documentary. Basically, Jesco goes to Hollywood. And then the third documentary is many, many years later. It's produced by Johnny Knoxville called The Wild and Wonderful Whites of West Virginia, that not only covers Jesco, but it covers the entire white family of Boone County in West Virginia. And if y'all think you've seen some redneck white trash people, you ain't
Yeah.
seen nothing yet.
And that's about all we could really say on a family show like the Fanatic Forum too. Oh man, yeah.
I mean, this stuff makes like Jerry Springer and Maury Povich look like friggin' church television. I mean, like
Yeah.
this it,
It's
it, if you feel down and out about your life and you really want to feel good about maybe some bad decisions you've made or just or whatever else, you're like, you know what, somebody out there's always got it worse. Find yourself a copy of The Wild and Wonderful Whites of West Virginia and just watch at least the first 5 or even 10 minutes of the movie,
yeah.
and you will be feeling pretty good about yourself.
Hell, watch the trailer.
Or the trailer. Yeah,
Yeah.
talk about getting off on a tangent on a weird one here. We were talking about newspaper comics.
We
Now
were. We were talking about
we were talking about Jesco.
Oh,
Where's Michelle? She's upstairs. All right.
oh, she would have been all over that. Yeah.
She would have been all over this. Yeah. Well, I think it's time to wrap up. Now that we've gotten completely off topic here, I guess that means it's time to wrap up the show here.
Hold up, we're gonna wrap up 35 minutes early. What are you talking about?
Well, I mean, we're at an hour and a half, so that's kind of a short show for us. Sometimes
I'm kidding.
We sometimes we do an hour and 45 minutes. Those are some long ones, but yeah, we're trying to keep it a little tight.
Oh yeah, no. I feel you. Plus, yeah, it's like I think Moxley's doing the PP dance anyway.
Yes, we gotta let you all get back to your lives and your families and whatnot here. But so once again, we thank you guys for tuning into the Fanatic Forum here. Always a wonderful time to have you all in here. Thank you to V and Bradley for tuning in here. And
yes, absolutely. Thank you, fellas.
Yeah, and of course, you can't forget Smokes and Road Beers.
And Road Beers.
Yep.
Thursdays, 6:30 Eastern, 5:30 Central. On Rumble and the Facebooks. I almost forgot where we were for a second. Wow, I'm tired tonight.
Yeah. I feel you, man. I've had a couple of busy days in a row at work, man. So I've been hustling like a mofo. So
yeah, you just got to take it easy.
Yeah, so I'm looking. Tomorrow's a slower day, and then I have 2 days off after that. So
wait a minute, I forgot. I forgot I was going to invite y'all for now, we're already talking about Monday Night Raw, weather permitting. Yep. Okay, but then on January 4th, tomorrow morning at 4 a.m., Wrestle Kingdom. You coming? You coming?
At 4 a.m., no, I will be asleep. Well, I mean, it's not.
I mean, you can wake up at 3. You'll be down here. I'll Venmo you some cash. You can just pick up some McDonald's breakfast.
Are they open at 4 a.m.?
Oh no, you're right. Shit. Okay.
Yeah, we have to wait till at least 6 or something like that. So yeah.
What we'll do is we'll text Eric and Steve because Eric already told me hell the F no. When I tried to offer him this deal at work. Yeah.
Oh my God, 4 a.m. to watch Japanese wrestling. That is called dedication, sir. I tell you. Weather permitting, because we're supposed to the Kentuckian area is supposed to get hit with all the winter weather over this weekend. So right now it's dry as a bone out there. So we'll see what happens over the weekend. So hopefully I'll get to see you in the flesh on Monday with the rest of the Horsemen. Hanging out watching the premiere of Monday Night Raw on Netflix, which apparently, that thing's going to be a friggin' pay-per-view.
Dude, the card is already looking stacked as hell. Yeah.
There's a huge card for it because you got like Roman Reigns and Solo Sikoa. You've got Sammy, or you've got Punk and Drew. You've got Liv and Rhea.
No, you've got Punk and Seth.
Oh, that's right. Punk and Seth. Sorry. Punk and Seth. Drew and Sami Zayn. That's right. Drew and Sami Zayn. And then Leah and Liv Morgan in a last woman standing. But if this card is 100% correct, they're pulling out every single stop. Because, of course, we know that John Cena is going to be showing up because the John Cena retirement tour begins this year.
Right.
The Rock may be making an appearance. There may be a couple of legends making appearances as well. But apparently, like the Wyatt Six are supposed to be having a big segment because possibly Alexa Bliss is coming back.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. And, of course, they're like I said, because, of course, this is going to be a 3-hour show, too. We're back to the 3-hour.
Right, yeah.
I kind of really enjoyed the 2-hour Raw, but okay, we're back to 3. But anywho, this is going to be huge. So this is going. I think the premiere on Raw on Netflix is going to be appointment television.
Actually, I don't necessarily mind the 3-hour Raw anymore because I have the option. Before, the only way to watch the 3-hour Raw was to watch it live as it happened. Yeah. There was no or recorded on a VCR or like a specialized DVR. Hulu would cut it down to the 90-minute version. You couldn't DVR it. So it's like, being able to do the whole 3-hour stream to go back on the Netflix part, like I'm okay with it that way. Cause it's like, at 10 o'clock, I can be like, to hell with it and go to bed.
Exactly. Yeah. So, and V has to say goodbye. So until next time, Fanatic Gurus.
Fanatic, yep. Late. Yeah, we were trying to leave too, so thank you, V. We're doing the Minnesota goodbye version of a podcast.
That's right. It takes us at least 30 minutes to say goodbye. Really. So stick around, folks. We'll be along. Anyway, so all right. Well, So weather permitting, hopefully we're going to see you in the flesh on Monday. But if not, then we'll just be texting back and forth. So anyway, so folks out there, you all have yourselves a wonderful weekend. Thank you for tuning into the Fanatic Forum, and we will see you next week. So hopefully everything's intact. We'll get snowed in, but we're on a podcast. I guess it doesn't really matter. So we can stay home and be on there. Yeah, that's fine. So, anyway, totally. You all have yourselves a wonderful week, and we will see you next time on the Fanatic Forum. Don't forget, like, share with your friends and family and all that good stuff, and spread the word. This is the home for geeks. So either way, you all have yourselves a good one, and we will see you next time at TTFN.
My name is Mark Weiss, and I am the founder and president of an organization called Comic Books for Kids. 6 years ago this month, we embarked on a journey of passion and heart. Our goal was to make a difference for children in hospitals and cancer centers. Little could we have ever imagined the response we have now. Starting with just hopes and dreams, we had no money for our mission. We had no product to give to the hospitals, and we had only called a couple hospitals and asked them, if we were to provide you with comic books, would you be interested? And they said yes. So we embarked on a 1-year journey to make a difference for these kids. We realized that even though we can't take away the reason these children are in hospitals, we can perhaps, while they are there, let them fly like a superhero, be princes and princesses, and embark on a mystical and magical journey to take them away from where they are in that hospital bed. Today, and thanks to your support, We are thrilled to say that we are now the largest charity in the U.S., supporting well over 200 hospitals in all 50 states for not only comic books, but for other pop culture items like Funko Pops, action figures, coloring books, Spanish bilingual items, backpacks, and more. When we received materials that were inappropriate for the young ones, we started a sister charity called Comic Book for Troops, and overnight, we became the largest charity in the U.S. for these same items to all branches of the military. We want to thank our friends for providing us their support and for allowing us the means to make so many happy with their gracious give to us.